Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesday Newsday. It's been a couple weeks since we've been around. Oh, my YouTube is unmuted, so fix that. Welcome back. It's good to see you. I know we took a couple weeks off for my travel and recovery in between. So it's good to see you all again. Thank you for joining us. I'm here this week with Picty. I'm going to say your name right. Ready? Sh-
Uh, Go for it.
Shacheshniak.
10 out of 10. Perfect.
Awesome. And Picty's from Poland with 11-Bit Studios. And what's your title with 11-Bit now?
So it's gonna be a new business development lead, I guess.
Awesome.
But all in all, I think it mostly has to do with doing more awesome stuff with our IPs than just the computer games.
Awesome. Awesome. So Picty has been working with Catalyst on the 11 or the Frostpunk TTRPG that is live now on Kickstarter. And we are doing a sister campaign with 11-Bit for more Frostpunk goodness on a fiction anthology and art book. So we're going to talk all about both campaigns here in a moment, but I know you guys are looking for the news. I'm looking at the wrong camera because I have to be on my laptop with my bad video cards. So if you see me looking up here, that's why. All right, so we've got some news. Now, obviously, over the weekend, we've got some posts out about BattleTech Gothic, our first ever alt setting, dark fantasy for BattleTech. This is going to be the first of a series of standalone box sets. So more info is actually going to come via social media, our newsletter, and Adepticon. So tomorrow sorry, no, not tomorrow, Thursday, between 10 or 11 Central, we are launching our live stream from Adepticon. That will be running all day, and they're going to do their hello and introductions, and then pretty much immediately get into the BattleTech Gothic conversation and news. So you have to hold on just a little longer for the full scoop. But more will be released today and tomorrow in the meantime through our social channels. So keep an eye on that. Uh, Also in BattleTech news, we've got the new releases. Since I haven't been on in a couple weeks for you guys, let's talk about this. So March 5th released the BattleTech Battlefield Support Assault and Cavalry Lances Force Pack, the Inner Sphere Battle Armor Platoon Force Pack, and then on March 19th we released Map Pack City Legends 2 Standard Edition, Somerset Strikers Force Pack, the House Davian Cavalry Lance Force Pack, the Battlemat City HPG Engineering, and the Salvage Box for Visigoths are all released on our store. So that's all live for you now. There's even a couple of premium mechs that are now live on the Catalyst store. So if you go to store.catalystgamelabs.com, you'll be able to find all of that. And then also, I want to open up an email I got from you from just before the stream launched from Michael Sierravella on the stream schedule for Adepticon. So let's see what we've got on the docket here. So on Thursday, it looks like at 11. As of right now, it's scheduled to do the introduction and BattleTech Gothic conversation with Lauren and Randall and Michael Sierravella. That goes for an hour. And we'll get all this on socials too for you guys, but in the meantime, I want to announce it here. So from 12 to 1, we'll have Lunch Table Secrets for BattleTech Gothic with Lauren, Randall, and Michael. We've got an actual play from 1 to 3. I don't have a name for what game is being played. I'm going to guess Gothic, but we'll see. So 1 to 3 is an actual play. 3 to 4 is an interview with Randall. 4 to 5 is an interview with Michael Sierravella. 5 to 6 is a Shrapnel Roundtable with Phil Lee and some guests. 6 to 7 is an actual play. 7 to 8 is submission Q&A fireside chat. And then 8 to 9 is Overflow and Gaming Hall streaming. On Friday, we've got a full day as well. We've got In the Beginning with Lauren, Randall, and Michael Stackpole. Lunch Table Secrets for Aces with Michael Sierravella and Josh Derrickson. An actual play of Aces from 1 to 3. An interview with Marco Mazzoni, our new art director for BattleTech. And that's from 3 to 4. An interview with Brian Young, freelancer, from 4 to 5. An art round table with Marco Mazzoni and guests from 5 to 6. An actual play 6 to 7. And then more fireside chat and gaming hall streaming from 7 to 9. And then 11 a.m. on Saturday, we've got an interview with Tommy Rice. We'll be talking about the Partha Wars miniature game. We were calling this the Lock for a while. It has since been rebranded to a larger, the universe itself, which is the Partha Wars series. So you'll be chatting with Tommy Rice, who's former NFL player and current actor. He's going to be on Government Cheese from Apple TV that launches on April 16th. Um, what else do we have? We have Lunch Table Secrets with Tommy Rice and Randall Bills about the Lock and the Partha Wars series. An actual play from 1 to 3. I'm guessing that's going to be the Lock as well. Interview with John Helfers from 3 to 4. An interview with Michael Stackpole from 4 to 5. Fiction Roundtable with John Helfers and guests from 5 to 6. An actual play 6 to 7. And then our Q&A fireside chat from 7 to 8. And then a tentative live stream from the painting competition and Irby Derby from 8 to 9. And then finally on Sunday, we've got a shorter day. We've got from 11 to 12. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce this yet, what the topic is, but Michael Ciaravella and Tommy Gofton. Lunch Table Secrets for BattleTech with Michael Ciaravella and Ray Arastia. Interview with Phil Lee, and then live stream wrap up hour with Talon and friends from 2 to 3 o'clock. So that is our very, very busy weekend of live streaming for you guys at Adepticon. So all good stuff there. All right, what else do we have? Finally, in BattleTech news, we've got some fiction that is now live on the web store. We have Fortunes of War 1 and 2. So if you did not get that for free from the Kickstarter, that is now available for purchase on the web store. And then A Night at the Lake by Michael Stackpole is available on the store now as well. In Shadowrun news, Bad Faith is a new novel available on the web store, as well as a Shadowrun mission called Urgent Care. And then Shadowrun Takedown minis are at production. I'm not sure exactly when they are scheduled to finish up and ship. I know that for it is we want to save with tariffs and stuff, so I know we kind of changed the plan a little bit on the briefcase. One company was making the briefcase and one company was making the miniatures. So, and they're both in China, so we're going to just send them to one location to pack those boxes, so we don't have to worry about doing that at the hubs, which would be more expensive. So, trying to keep costs down there. What else do we have? So that's the takedown news. And then we announced this at PAX Unplugged that Shadowrun Anarchy Volume 2.0 is coming this summer. I actually got to run it for some folks at GaryCon, and then at KerenskyCon, I ran a small table of it. So working out the kinks. It's been in playtest mode for a while. Both tables really enjoyed it. So I'm pretty excited about Anarchy 2.0. So if you like Shadowrun World but want a more rules light system, Anarchy is the one for you. For RPGs, Voltron, I need to check in with the team. I just landed yesterday and am back to work today. So I need to check with the team on the pledge manager. I know we've been waiting for BackerKit to approve that, and it hasn't been. It's been stuck, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And then Frostpunk, the RPG, is live on Kickstarter right now. We're creeping up closer. I think there's going to be a new exciting stretch goal at 75,000. So you should help us get there. I'm going to drop the link in chat real quick. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to hawk the 11-bit Kickstarter as well. They have been doing phenomenally well. And so you should check out what they've got for you as well. So this is the TTRPG and then the 11-bit link as well. Coming back over. Awesome. All right. Uh, Then I've got Leviathans. Again, since I've been away, I need to check in, but the date we were supposed to get, the ship was supposed to land was like last week. So I need to check on the status of that, and hopefully we'll be starting fulfillment in April. Board games, Flippin' Ninja comes out on April 2nd. I'll be having Mike Ritchie on stream for Tuesday Newsday at some point to talk about that as well. It's kind of a cool little strategic game. I got to play it at Gamma and I kicked Lauren's butt, and that's always my favorite thing to do. Um, so that was a lot of fun. It's a little chess like, but also different. Runefire, production is, yeah, it's in development. Development is going well. I think we might have like new box cover art, because we've been using a placeholder for a while. But we got one of the prolific artists from Pathfinder to do the cover for us, so we should have that that we can talk about soon. Um, and I think that's my news. That's board games, that's Leviathans, that's RPGs, Shadowrun, BattleTech. Whew, that's a lot going on. So if you guys have questions, put them in the chat and ping one of our wonderful moderators so that they can get that to me. Um, and in the meantime, I want to flip back over to you, Picty. How you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome.
It's like I had a few hours off actual work, so I've recovered. It's early evening here in Poland, so cozy and snug back home. Happy
Awesome.
to good to have you and good to be with you here.
Yeah, it's nice to chat without having it be a meeting.
My
So
my thoughts exactly.
So, Picty, can you tell us? Let's kind of start at the beginning of your story. How did you get involved with 11-bit and or Frostpunk back in the day? What's your origin story here?
I don't think we have that much time, but yeah, if you ask any person that works around computer games in Poland, at one time or another, they definitely all had to start at CD Projekt Red. It's like you get it all the time. So I did my bit at CD Projekt for almost 7 years. That was over 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
Um, Worked on their GOG on GOG.com. So I don't know if you're aware. CD Projekt has an online store, basically like a small storefront that used to sell. GOG stood for Good Old Games, so they used to restore classics and sort of make them playable on modern computers. That's how I got into retro gaming a little bit, and then I spent 7 years there. Um, Always was a gamer, loved working around computer games, but then decided to move out to the US for a few years with a different job, a Polish startup that was working on merch for and around again computer games, film, popular brands basically. And then when I got back to Poland from the US about 3.5 years ago, we got together with 11-bit, who we talked about working together before I even left for the US. The idea was that um, the business development team, which basically was a little thin, had to like triage a lot of really cool stuff because they just couldn't handle anything outside of like the core work around our gaming IPs, and they really wanted to change that. So they asked me to sort of carve out the part of the job that I think makes sense as like the, let's call it, IP extension projects for
Mm,
the games we have in our portfolio, and build a small team to kind of run all that. So it's basically my ADHD triggers every time I have to work on one thing for a long time. So that was an instant yes, since it meant like we'll have tons of different projects across very different, um, uh, basically industries also.
awesome.
Because some of it is, more technical, some of it is working on adaptations, some of it is working on uh, board games or tabletop RPGs and stuff like that. So basically, I think the story of the last 3 years is trying to pinpoint the most interesting projects and to build out a strategy how to grow our brands, especially Frostpunk and now some of the more sort of recent upcoming games from both the publishing side. I don't know if you guys know 11-bit makes games, but also we have a pretty strong publishing wing that releases about 3 to 4 titles a year.
Okay.
So it's basically juggling a lot of different stuff, a lot of different genres, tonalities, very different games. I guess the one thing that, if you'd ask me what ties them together, I would say maybe not the best way to call it, but easy for us internally to kind of figure it out, meaningful entertainment. So
Mm.
they got to be, they got to pull you in, they got to be entertaining, but we try and make a point of, covering some interesting sort of topics and have the games sort of stay with you after you finish playing.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, like let's kind of dive into that then. So Frostpunk the video game, when I bet it's a pretty hard pitch to be like, let's have something that's really morally and aesthetically and the entire gameplay is super dark. So like how do you pitch that in terms of something or what have you seen has been the challenge of creating a game that has been wildly successful despite those kinds of challenges? Um, how did that come to life?
I think to sort of uh, make it easier to understand, I'd start a little bit earlier with 11-bit's first biggest success, and that was 10 years ago. It was a little game called This War of Mine, which basically um, was something, the indie scene 10 years ago was very different to
Hmm.
what it is now. I guess less saturated, not as many releases, not as difficult to break through. But even though these were different times, we've made a game that was able to do two things at once that were normally really, really unheard of at that point, which was cover a really difficult, anxiety inducing, dark topic. And that was basically um, running a group of civilians trying to survive in a besieged city. So, something totally against the power fantasy that normally gaming offers you when it talks about war. You're either a marine or a general, right?
Yeah.
And here you were like scared human beings trying to survive under, an escalating siege of a city.
So
So what
another
seems
positive
like a
title.
very yeah, exactly. We're Polish. It's like
Polish.
Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe always kind of seeps through what you do. It's like I guess it's our history, but also just the fact that there isn't a lot of sun, and we always like gravitate towards a little darker um, topics and things. But basically, the game, even though it was really, really difficult, sort of anxiety-inducing experience, it was also extremely engaging, and it sold through the roof. The company at that point was around 15 people. Now it's about 300,
Oh wow.
but yeah, it's scaled up pretty rapidly after that. But selling millions of copies of that game sort of made us understand that it doesn't have to be pure, like the definition of entertainment doesn't have to be the same every time. Like people get entertained by very different things, and it doesn't have to be a power fantasy, it doesn't have to be easy. And sort of Frostpunk was doubling down on that.
Hmm.
um, we thought it was obviously Kuba, the game director of Frostpunk 2, would be much better here, actually walking you through, like, let's say, the pitching process internally or
Sure.
something like that. But I guess the main concept was, what if we didn't have to stick to one genre? And what if we wanted to tell an emergent story about, you know, what it takes, what is the impact of making sure you survive as a species on your humanity and on like the hard decisions you have to make, and like how far you'd go to make sure you, again, as a city, you survive. So I guess we thought it's an interesting mashup of genres to do a survival city builder game. And it wasn't a very easy concept to sort of run internally as well.
Hmm.
But I think we understood that we have something special. Obviously, I wasn't there for the actual Frostpunk One pitch, but the interesting thing, I guess, is that we really wanted it to work on its own right and like be a very complete experience. And
Hmm.
that's why making Frostpunk 2, we actually agreed, even though it's definitely risky when you think of like the community we've built, that we're going to make a different game. Like
Yeah.
if you compare one to two, one is a very sort of smaller scale survival game. The second is much closer to like a 4X. You're expanding more, the scale is much bigger. Instead of making decisions as a, well, end of the day, a tyrant, I guess. Uh, you have to run a House of Representatives
Oh,
and
wow.
have factions support you in Frostpunk 2 to actually follow through with the decision you want to make. So it's a completely different sort of mechanic and core experience of the game, even though the setting is only like the same but 30 years later.
Awesome. Yeah, I own, of course I own Frostpunk too, because as soon as that came out, I was like, done. Um, but it's that balance where I'm like, oh man, as soon as I start this, I'm gonna lose a week of my life, and I I gotta get the Frostpunk one Kickstarter out.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I'm not going to convince you to start now. It's a risk. It is. I think in the in for a few reasons, it's even more, maybe even more engaging than Frostpunk 1, because in a sense Frostpunk 1 is a puzzle. You have
Yeah.
choices you can make, but it's about managing resources in a very specific way, building it out to actually make the city, reach different levels of survival.
Hmm.
And in Frostpunk 2, it really is a very emergent sort of city. It's basically, the more you align yourself with different factions and the more they radicalize, and they do, the city becomes a different kind of monster every
Yeah.
time. And then you're like, oh, it's such a great idea to, have the women and children stay, home and be like cared for by the stronger man. And then you're like, uh-oh, because the faction that did like feel this idea is great, then radicalizes into, well, the women are not allowed to leave home because they need to make sure, the community reproduces. And then you're like, oh shit, okay, I didn't want to go that way.
Right.
So in a sense, it's like every choice you make is a minefield, and it twists the city you're building into something unforeseen and not necessarily, morally great.
Yeah. Yeah. As usual, as is on brand for Frostpunk. I know my only interaction, and we'll kind of announce this here, is my only interaction with Frostpunk 2 is we just did a recorded actual play with Alexander from the Frostpunk team. And so we combined 11-bit and Catalyst into an actual play. And I know Oil was is a new option in Frostpunk 2 where it's not in Frostpunk 1. And then, the how we ran the actual play, it was based around the plot of one of the short stories in the anthology from your campaign, and which is super cool. And so, like, one of the arguments that the council is having is great, like Oil gives us all of this these new opportunities for technology, but do we replace the generator? Like, it's gotten us this far, and all of a sudden it's like, what's the option for the future? And what do we do? There's some people that want to move forward in technology, but like, if it's working and all of a sudden something with the oil isn't working, then we all freeze to death, so all of that kind of conversation is still prevalent, which I very much enjoy.
I agree, and I think this is like the tensions between which way to go always is at the core of Frostpunk as a world.
Hmm.
And the fact that we've been able to sort of extend it into different directions thanks to the RPG that you guys are building, the novellas that we've been able to publish first in Polish, now for the first time in English, in like a really cool, sort of very elaborate exclusive edition for Kickstarter. It basically allows us to treat Frostpunk as a huge canvas that we can infuse with stories in different media. Uh, if you look at Frostpunk 1 and Frostpunk 2, they are different, and
Hmm.
they are going to have, and they can have, extension of the narrative and the issues and the whole sort of um, zeitgeist, let's call it, of what was Frostpunk 1 about and what Frostpunk 2 is about. And then at the same time, we can tell detailed, more sort of down to earth, uh, character based stories in the fiction novellas, or in RPG campaigns.
Hmm.
We're definitely committed, sort of in the company, we're committed to build more in the world of Frostpunk. We have a board game, but I'd be very surprised if there wasn't some version of Frostpunk free. Can't tell you if it's going to be that genre or another, if it's going to be set as a prequel or a sequel, or like, this is still definitely something we'll be talking about and like sort of evaluating what we want to do in the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's a super interesting canvas, basically.
Yeah, and so let's talk about more of the biz dev side uh that you're involved in here. So we have the board game. Were you part of that when that all happened? Tell us tell
Basically,
I haven't gotten to play the board game. So how does that expand into Frostpunk world?
mm, so first of all, I'd say the board game was a really, really big project. I was there at delivery, not at the actual campaign.
Okay.
Um, it's definitely very close to what the core experience of Frostpunk 1 is.
Okay.
So it really is building up the city, gathering resources. The, I guess, interesting part is I really got into, like, I played board games a lot in the past, but that got me sort of hooked in the more complex, I guess, experiences, because Frostpunk, the board game, is not for the casual faint of heart. Sadly, I guess, because I'd love more people to experience it, but it's one hell of a game in terms of like setup, rule book, and all that. Like probably around 3 to 4 hours to get like in one seating, and you probably need about 30 minutes to set everything up. It's a pretty big beast, but it does take very interesting sort of angle into the gameplay of Frostpunk 1 and translate it into a very different experience. So I I think it's a cool way in. I imagine it turned a lot of like board game fans into Frostpunk fans, the one that
Good.
did not experience the game beforehand. Um, Not so much the other way around, because I think it really you need to be like an advanced level board game player in a sense to or have someone lead you by the hand a little bit because it is
Fair.
a grueling experience.
Fair.
Um, but I think it also opened door for me. So a guy working biz dev at 11-bit, trying to do more of the things that are not the core of our business. So it's not
Sure.
just like, releasing the game on a new platform or making a mobile version or something like that, but actually like meaningfully expanding those IPs into different media.
Wow.
Um, I think it sort of was a proof of concept before I was there that it's worth doing. Now they just needed to find the right people, and it seems like we've been pretty successful building like directions or of what to do and how. So
Okay.
um, I think, in a sense, even though I wasn't there, it's one of the things that allowed me to do the things I'm
Good.
doing now.
Good. So let me know because you and I haven't chatted about this before. So if you want to pass, that's totally okay. But I know before when I joined Catalyst and I found out we were going to be doing a Frostpunk RPG, and I was so into the game already. I found that there's I think it's an app, a game app in beta. Um, I'm not sure if it's full release or beta yet, but
Oh, the mobile,
yeah.
the mobile one. Yeah, that's completely fine. It's released out of beta recently.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's always difficult with mobile games because they don't release everywhere at the same time.
Okay.
But I think it's live for about half a year. Um, Again, like with mobile games, there are iterations, changes, and whatnot. But yeah, we've partnered up with NetEase to make a Frostpunk mobile game. We're really happy with what it is, and like sort of which um, sort of avenue it's taking, but it's definitely a different experience than
Yeah.
like the PC game. In a sense, like all the mobile games are in a way, they tend to sort of cater to a little bit of a different crowd, and they
Sure.
have let's say more casual approach. They can't be that hard. They have to have certain systems and like mechanics in place to be a mobile game instead of um, being like a full priced regular PC release.
Right.
But yeah, we're really happy. I think it's like for a game produced in Asia with like mobile sensibilities. I think it's pretty close to like the core of the experience, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
I played it for a
um,
few months. I got up pretty high level and where you have to wait for quite a while to farm things, and then I realized that mobile games were including that one were eating up all of my time. It's like I
the
should be relaxing, and instead I'm harvesting frostpunk coal and wood and steel.
that's where I take my dog for an hour long walk. But I get you totally, and like as as far as recommendations go, I there's a ton of mobile games I love, but I did cut down on those for exactly the same reasons. I basically, even like in core, sort of my core gaming, so like the PC and the PlayStation, I try to stick to mostly games that are linear, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
can like go from beginning to end and be done with it and move on and play something else. There's always, there are things that make it difficult, like, I don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 now, which are, huge experiences, however you go about it. But Balatro made it absolutely impossible to do only story-based games, and I think like I dumped 150 hours into that too. But yeah, I think you try to like sort of spend your time on different things. It's it's good to step away from like the mobile world a little
Yeah.
bit at least.
So let's transition then over to the big topic, which is both of our campaigns. So for BizDev, I wasn't around when the conversations started with Catalyst. What did Catalyst approach 11-bit? Did 11-bit approach Catalyst? How did the idea of a TTRPG and this partnership come to be?
So this is gonna be proxy knowledge, because when I joined, the first thing, literally the first thing I did was finalize the contract. And uh, actually, the guys from Catalyst were visiting Warsaw during
Oh,
I think I want to say the first week on the job for me. So one of the cool experiences was, having a play session in the headquarters with them running like an early beta version of the system, and then going for lunch. So this was almost sealed and delivered to me to my lap when I joined. But as far as I know, it was you guys approaching us, and us being like super happy because you're very good at what you do, and you've also like had an amazing portfolio of titles you and licenses you already worked with. So it seemed like a very good home for
awesome,
Frostpunk tabletop.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so was that iteration when they came to visit? Is that the only version of Frostpunk you've gotten to experience and play for the
Um,
TTRPG?
Actually, I did. Yeah, that's the only one.
Okay.
I'm looking forward. I'm sort of looking forward to a finished, like when the campaign is final. Um, Actually, getting my getting together with Alexander, who you met. He's like so for all you guys, the gentleman that is gonna be a part of. A scenario, a gameplay session, is a 11-bit veteran. He worked on both Frostpunk 2 and 1, and he's like with the company, I think. Well, he's like probably employee number 40 or something like that.
Wow.
So one of the real OGs. And so I hope we get together, we sit down, and we play a little bit when it's all done, and everything calmed down a little bit.
You let us know and we'll come out and play with you. That would be fun.
Sure, fantastic. Yeah.
And that actual play, for our viewers, that's scheduled to be our mid-campaign bump here. So you should start seeing on both of our socials clips and links to the scenario. It was let's see, we had a great cast. It was Alexander from 11-bit, Jason Hardy, the RPG director, ran the campaign. I got to play in it. Bryn Bills from Leviathans got to play in it. Randall Bills got to play in it, and Talon. So it was a lot of fun. It was we all left that, and I remember Talon asked, like, so how far did we stray from the actual story? And the rest of us were like, don't tell us, we want to read it. So a lot of excitement there, and we're really excited to share that with everyone. So cool. So let's talk a little bit about that campaign, and then I want to hand it over to you, Picty, to talk about the 11-bit campaign. So the the TTRPG is live now on Kickstarter. We dropped that link in the chat, and while I'm talking, I'll drop it again just so you guys have it. So basically, it's using our new dice core system, which is going to have you'll need up to 3 dice sets. So your rolls are always going to start with a D8 as your base, and then an attribute die. Let's say you're not very good at it, so you have a D4, and then you also have a D6 for your skill that goes with that. You'll get different upgrades and downgrades based on your character build and situation. So you might earn an upgrade, and you can use that upgrade on any of those 3 die. So you can change your D8 to a D10 if you want to get higher. Statistically, that's better to do. The quick start rules are available on the Kickstarter page so that you can see them there. There's the link there. And you can see some of the actual plays that we've done previously to help promote that are live. Um, and you can start to get a flavor for the world. I know that there's still so much of the core moral dilemma. Um, One of the ones that I played that's posted, I played with Jason, and the first thing that happens is at the generator, they're doing an announcement for the first ever prosthesis, and it's being attached to a kid's arm that lost his arm. But then you find out that, as you take a closer look at it, that the kid's arm is infected. And, so it's like, okay, this is good science improvement. Like, this kid can you know uh grow up and have access to both arms, but is our medical um facilities and staff up to that challenge yet? And what does this really mean, like, for the civilization? So even though you think it's a positive, it's not always a positive, as is part of it. But I'm super excited for the TTRPG. I've gotten to play it a bunch of times now, and bringing this cool world and cool game to a new audience is super exciting. We've got a thermal dice set that is color changing, that you can get, so that's super exciting.
It's very on brand. I love it.
I love it too. I'm so excited about that. Getting mine. Uh, we have a dice bag. We have. I am on your campaign, not mine. We have some stretch goals planned. We just unlocked solo mode, so you'll actually be able to play just like the video game by yourself, which is a lot of fun. We have a really cool limited edition box that's coming. I know some of the features are like a frosty cover. It's going to have like a sound when you open it. I'm not sure if we've decided on that sound yet. Um, and we're talking about the cloth map and everything and getting that all designed. So that's exciting. And then we've also got the Explorer's Guide. So not just the core book, but the Explorer's Guide to help you run your campaign, find some interesting scenarios and plot hooks and locations. And then one of my favorite things. So in addition to the pins, we got really cool pins for faith and order. Which when you choose your pin, that's going to be a vote that's cast, and we're going to do like extra short fiction for whichever hope or not hope, faith or order wins by getting selected the most. So I'm excited for that. GM screen. And then the thing that was really exciting was 11-bit contacted us about partnering on a metal displate piece of artwork. So the first 48 hours it was free with any physical reward, but now it's a nice low $15. And we've got Lord Craven from the game, and 11-bit. What is yours? I saw it was a woman. Who is that?
I think it's a faction in the game, but basically, the whole point I think of the display is it's a nice collectible. So we do plan of creating more based on factions in Frostpunk 2
Cool.
sometime in the future. So yeah, that's gonna be a very sort of small number of those that are available only through the Kickstarter early on as the bonus and now as add-ons. But they're really nicely done, and they're like a really cool sort of collectible with a really cool finish, very durable. So we thought that's
Awesome.
a really cool sort of thing to run.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm very excited, and it's definitely so you can get one from our campaign that's exclusive to ours, one from 11 Bits campaign, and then more to come, which is super exciting. So let's transition over to your campaign. Tell us about the fiction anthology and art book.
Uh, just to like before I do, circle back to what you said about the play session and
Yeah.
like the issues of like, oh, do we move on from coal to oil, right? So it's sort of the in between, and like the canvas painting that I was sort of talking um, about like Frostpunk 1 and 2 inhibiting the same space but in uh, different points of time. For example, in Frostpunk 2, one of the things that is a game changer is, yes, we've sort of survived nature, but now human nature is the issue again because, everyone was together to survive, and now they all have those ideas how to keep growing. And for example, when they are able technologically and in terms of progress, like build out the city, squalor is another thing you need to deal with. So, in a sense, you've survived nature and now you're messing up again, like we actually do now with like pollution and, uh, sort of affecting the climate. You're doing it in Frostpunk. You like, wow, we've been able to survive the temperatures and the whiteouts, and now we make the city uninhabitable because we just make it a terrible place to live in. So there
Uh,
are those like yeah, yeah. I've been there, done that in a sense, right? Um, that's why like I think those campaigns really go well together because in a sense I'd love for people, for fans of Frostpunk and for fans of Catalyst, to sort of look at the both ways. For um, core Frostpunk fans that not necessarily were aware or played tabletop RPGs in the past, when they engaged with our Kickstarter, they will, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a sec, but they'll sort of experience the more detailed, more like character driven stories set in the world. And they'll get a huge lore dump and like a lot of visuals and texture and like tone to the way we've built the world in both games. From the I don't want to call it an art book. It is an art book, but it actually has a ton of like design works sort of aspects to it. So we talk a lot about how building the game in a specific way had consequences, and how we came to like some decisions of what the factions are, for example, or how they emerged in the world. So there's a lot of lore in it as well. And the other way around is like, so when you have all that in mind and then you want to make a play session, you get a lot of the texture of the world and like a lot of details you can use, and a lot of sort of cool information and angles into building out a scenario. And the other way around, if you enjoy the stories and you make a deep dive into the lore, the next logical step is like make your own adventure in a sense. So like
awesome.
be actually playing the tabletop.
I love
um
that.
in terms of like, so that's why I think the idea we had, that let's play out the short story as a scenario, was really enticing,
Yeah.
uh because the world fits all of it, and you can have your sort of own characters and your own adventure in it. On our Kickstarter. So basically, there are two books that were developed. In a sense, they are being developed, or they were developed separately. Um, we've decided that um, we want to explore fiction for Frostpunk because a very good friend of one of the game directors, super famous Polish sci-fi writer, approached us that we all love. His name is Jacek Dukaj. He's not super popular abroad because his books are very difficult to translate
Mm.
because he messes with language a lot. Like almost every novel has its own language and world,
Oh,
and
wow.
doesn't really lead you by the hand into that world. So you're sort of puzzling together what the nature of that science fiction construct is as you sort of go along. Um, One of his books, I think it's called Ice, is finally getting translated and released in English. I highly recommend seeking that out. It's huge. It's like 850 or 1,000 pages, but it's
Oh, wow.
really awesome, hard sci-fi, old school, engaging literature. So he approached me and he talked to us about him wanting to curate a set of novellas set in the world. He like handpicked four different authors that he wanted to tell their own stories. And
Ooh.
the way we've done that is we basically gave them the pillars of the world, so to speak,
Ooh.
and just let them go free wherever and like in whichever direction they wanted to. And that project was almost 2.5 years in the making, but there's only been one published edition prior to the Kickstarter, and that was the Polish edition.
Hmm.
We've published it with Znak, with like one of the biggest Polish publishing houses, in a hardcover format. It's been received very, very well. We sold out. We're printing another
Wow.
run in a few months. But basically, the Kickstarter is our first English translation, and yeah, we've basically thought that it makes before we go to like if we do, but before we approach like a publishing house to actually do it in English like the traditional way, we want to make like a super custom amazing exclusive edition crowdfunded just like for the fans to experience it in a very specific cool way. And to do that we thought sure we can run a Kickstarter for one book, but the guys back in the day when we made Frostpunk 1 we didn't have as many resources and we weren't that sure that we're going to build that huge community. So
Hmm.
the art book Frostpunk 1 was like teeny tiny. It was, I think, like 60 pages, really cool, but like very limited, let's say.
Hmm.
And they had so much like to tell. So we decided, okay, what if the second book is basically their story of how they built the world and what are the ramifications of the way it's set up, plus all the beautiful artwork that they were able to create for it. And they basically slide into a really cool um, sleeve. And then we've been able to partner up with Glass Cannon Unplugged, so the guys that created the board game. So you can also get tiers that have the board game included.
Which
It's a whole thing.
I learned Glass Cannon that did the board game is different than Glass Cannon, the live streamers that do shows here in the US.
Yep.
I emailed them
Um,
and I'm like, I hear you're helping 11-bit. Let's collab. And they're like, nope, but let's collab anyway.
we've had that happen a few times. True. Yeah. Um, but yeah, they're really cool. We worked with them in the past. We worked on like the first board game. They were part of there are two designers. One of them is now a founder of Glass Cannon. He worked on like the This War of Mine board game about
Hmm.
7 8 years ago. That also been crowdfunded on Kickstarter. But basically, I think the big challenge with the Kickstarter campaign is this is our first campaign that we run ourselves. We don't have, a partner like you guys to sort of make sure everything works and like, tracks the progress and, works out all the kinks. So uh, it's on the one hand, it's like it's hard work and we're still probably making some mistakes and, uh, the community is awesome and the feedback is great. So again, there is a ton of love from us that anytime we slip up, everyone's like helping us, get back up, and they're like, you know, uh, rookie mistake, but it's fine.
We're all running at all
But
times.
it's
It's okay.
but basically, I think that the awesome part of that is we've learned a lot, and we've been able to help build out that community and get support from them, and also get to know them a little more.
Good.
So far so good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been super entertaining and to talk to you, and I still have even more questions that we could cover, but I know we wanted to open this up to Q&A. Are you okay with staying a few minutes after Picty to answer some questions?
Thing.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say about your campaign before we transition to Q&A?
Well, I can only say that we right now I think we're getting into a really cool stage of unlocking stretch goals because we're getting into so the campaign is built around two boxes that support like the two boxes of physical stuff. One is part of the of a pledge tier, and that's I want to say the Frostland Explorer set, which basically gives you a box of goodies. But then we have another box, which is a stretch goal box, and I think we're close to yep to basically the next unlock is the box, and then each following one is gonna put an item into the box, and
Ooh.
I it's still a mystery what those are, but they're pretty dope.
Well,
So
I love that one of the things like for the tone of the campaign to be like new site discovered or dreadnought found, things like that you can
yep,
have these reveals as you go. That's awesome.
and we also have some surprises that we're sort of working into the mix as we speak. So even if we do, if the community helps us sort of cover those, we'll still have some really cool surprises if we get there.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, let's switch on over to Q&A. Let me bring up my mod doc here. I know our poor Lorcan had to join us late, so we might not have one, and I'll have to go through the scroll through the chat, but I'm always afraid of missing something. Yep, looks like. All right, so I'll go to the top. See where we are. Ooh, Dapper Raccoon says, woo, Poland just got a painting commission back from some amazing Polish artists. That's awesome. Solaire asks, any BattleTech Aces news you can share? I was not at KarinskyCon, so I'm not sure. I was at the very tail end to say hello. So I'm not sure if there's going to be or if there's any news that's new. However, anything new will be shared at those live streams during Adepticon. So I think Friday is Aces Day, so that's where you'll get all the news. Mad Cat asks, when will the Karita Force Packs be released? Let me pull up my master release schedule here. Um, Scroll through, see if I can spot it. There's just so many words. Um, House Karita Ranger Lance Force Pack is scheduled for July right now. So that's that answer. What else we got? When is the Art of Food cookbook going to be released to non-backers? I do know that one is in the release schedule for April 16th is on the docket, as long as everything has arrived in the ships. What else do I got? Crazy Slane says, jumped on both projects, throwing support all around. Thank you so much. Question from Liberal Application of Thunderbolts. Will CGL be at Dragon Con this year? I did see your question pop up earlier and I texted Lauren, and we don't think so this year. There's some big things happening this year, so we might have to pull back a little bit on our con presences. And Dragon Con hasn't been a huge one for us yet. So that might be one of the ones that gets mixed this year, but we should be back next year. Anybody know if the Stormcrow Premium Mini with the swapped arms, something, oh, if they fix the Stormcrow minis? They should be. If for some reason you have an issue, we do have the fixed ones in stock. So just email store@catalystgamelabs.com and we'll take care of that for you. Let's see. Any update on the Mercs Kickstarter? The last one was March 12th. Yeah, with my travels last week, I fell behind on my posting, so I apologize for that. I know that they're still moving. I haven't gotten the email from QML on the statuses, so I'm going to send them an email right after we're done with stream and get an update going. It might have to wait for tomorrow, depending on if he's done with work for today. So I apologize for that. Any news on restock on items like physical prints of Hinterlands? I'll text Talon real quick. I doubt he's going to respond quickly enough for me to answer here, so I should have an answer for next week. But he's aware of where the ships are. Where are restock ships for Hinterlands and such? If he responds, I'll let you guys know. But if not, we'll get something out, or we'll talk about it next week. What else do we have? We have the third Star League box at KerenskyCon available for Kerenskys and Kappas. When do they go on sale? Third Star League is Third Star League Strike Team Force Pack is June 15th scheduled. So it might be here at Adepticon as a special early release, but the street date is going to be June 15th as of right now. The third Star League Battle Group Force Pack is scheduled for August right now. I just did scroll through and see that one as well. Awesome. It looks like that's all of our questions. So we will wrap. Picty, gosh, it's so great to talk to you and chat with you. Thank you for your support and your enthusiasm, and I'm excited for the rest of this campaign and to see what happens with the Frostpunk RPG and with your fiction. And I still need to back. I haven't been home to back since the launch, so I'll be back in your campaign too.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to, for both the campaigns, and good luck for you guys, and we'll we'll support you in any way we can to make sure that the entire, Frostpunk community is aware and backs and helps out the Catalyst campaign as well. At the same time, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you guys. I believe next week we have Mike Ritchie planned for Tuesday Newsday to talk about the release of Flippin' Ninja, but I might be wrong on that. So stay tuned. We'll get that out for next week. But thank you guys. Have a great day. See you next week.
Bye.